Software protocols that are foundational to the crypto ecosystem are like operating systems, and then applications are run on top of these operating systems.
Yes, this is true. For example, operating system that he's referring to in this analogy is Ethereum. Ethereum is the biggest platform. It is what's known as a layer 1 blockchain. There are many layer 1 blockchains. Bitcoin is the first layer 1 blockchain, but there's nothing built on Bitcoin. Ethereum came along and was the first one that allowed people to build upon it, right? Like Ethereum built a foundation to allow other people to come in and build on top of that foundation, right? And we have other platforms, other operating systems like, Polkadot, Cosmos, Cardano, layer 1 blockchains that are more recent than Ethereum, that have, faster transactions, it's cheaper, more scalability. That there's a myriad of reasons, and I'll go into more detail in another video. Just for example, Stellar. All of these are operating systems, not all, but most of them in this list right here. Kronos chain, that's a society chain, but Avalanche, IO, this entire list right here is what he's referring to, these operating systems. And people are building things on these operating systems. VeChain is one of my personal favorites. There are applications, dApps, smart contracts. There's so much going on. Like, this technology is fantastical. It's phenomenal, right? Like, this is revolutionary stuff that nobody really knows about. Nobody really fully understands, because people hear cryptocurrency, crypto. They just think, bullshit, it's this, it's that. They don't understand that there's actual technology behind crypto, right? Crypto, the monetary aspect is just one part of it, right? There is actual technology behind it. VeChain, for example, is creating technology that's already in real world use, is already in use around the world. Companies and businesses are already adopting VeChain. The UFC is a partner with VeChain. Mark my words, in the coming years, they're going to be in every corporation, every business, because they are going to transform the way that we look at logistics. Fact.
Currently, there are many competing operating systems and many apps running on them. Some of my colleagues have suggested somehow pausing cryptocurrency before we pass legislation.
Like I said, there are many competing, as I showed you that list. Yeah, there are many competing, but not all of them are the same. They're not all equal. A lot of them are actually trying to do different things. They're not all competing. That's actually a fallacy, common misunderstanding. People think, it's going to kill Ethereum, the ETH killer. Fallacy. And I know people won't understand that. And again, it's a little bit more technical, but there's a lot. Imagine the 90s. The internet is just coming out. People are, really, jumping into it, creating websites, basic web 1 designs, and just kind of exploring it. And Amazon, Google, in 96, 97. Yahoo was the prevailing search engine for the 90s, for most of the 90s, right? Then Google came out, took off. So we're in the infancy stage of this technology. We are literally in the infancy stage of this. Like, this is it honestly, it's just one of those things that's just like, because there's just so much going on, and there's so much that people don't really appreciate or understand or even know about, because they're listening to this person talk about these talking points or those talking points. They're listening to FUD. They only watch this one person. It's almost like a political divide, right? And that's one of the like really big problems with society in general. Is like, it's either your team blue, your team red. There's no other team you can be on. You have to pick a side, right? Like left or right, vanilla or chocolate. There's more than 2 flavors of ice cream, guys. There's more than 2 flavors. All right. Last I recall, there's at least 36 flavors. My point being, there's a variety, a multitude of flavors to choose from. It doesn't just have to be vanilla or chocolate. What about strawberry? What about sherbet? What about coffee? You get my point. And think about that in relation to ideas. Like all these things that people are talking about, all this fun, blah, blah, blah. most of the people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That's just a fact. A lot of people are jumping on this bandwagon because it's the hot new thing, right? And a lot of people see that it is the future, right? That this is going to integrate into our society just like the internet did. The blockchain alone by itself is not just about cryptocurrency. That's just one aspect of the blockchain. There's a lot of different technologies and a lot of things that can be built, that can be utilized with the blockchain that has nothing to do with crypto assets, that has nothing to do with Bitcoin or Ethereum. The blockchain is the thing to appreciate that is massively overlooked.
Or we pass legislation suggested somehow pausing cryptocurrency before we pass legislation. This is a profoundly misguided, not to mention impossible idea. Short of enacting draconian authoritarian policies, cryptocurrency cannot be stopped. If we tried, the technology would simply migrate offshore. Cryptocurrency does not need brick and mortar facilities to operate. And typing computer code should clearly be seen as a form of protected speech.
Sometimes men take matters into their own hand.
Pausing cryptocurrency before we pass legislation. This is a profoundly misguided, not to mention impossible idea. Short of enacting draconian authoritarian policies, cryptocurrency cannot be stopped. If we tried, the technology would simply migrate offshore. Cryptocurrency does not need brick and mortar facilities to operate. And typing computer code should clearly be seen as a form of protected speech. Are we going to decide to pause the Constitution in order to stop crypto? This is exactly the kind of mindset that has driven this activity to the darker and less regulated parts of the world. Now, if Congress...
You little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little.
Yeah. People have this idea like, oh, well, just ban crypto, ban crypto. People think this crazy idea because they know nothing about it. They know nothing about the technology. They know nothing about the space. Just ban it. It's going to be banned. It's not going to be allowed. Oh, whatever. It's going to go away. You can't ban cryptocurrency. That is the entire purpose of cryptocurrency, right? Crypto assets, Bitcoin. You can't fucking ban it. It's not possible. There's a reason why all these startups, or all these, these exchanges, such as FTX, based out of the Bahamas, based out of Singapore, based out of, tax havens, or places that the U.S. has no jurisdiction. It's not a coincidence. Coinbase is an American-based company. We have that. It's the first and only publicly traded company, publicly traded cryptocurrency exchange. The first, which is a pretty amazing feat, pretty impressive. So what he's saying here and what he's emphasizing to his colleagues who have this seemingly very rudimentary, if not non-existent grasp on what this is. They're just focused on the bad. Money laundering, bad. People are using cryptocurrency to launder money, and drug cartels and North Korea and all bad. Motherfucker, that shit has been going on forever. How did the terrorists, 9/11, how did those guys get the money? Where did that come from? The biggest drug dealer in history. His name rhymes with Escobar. I don't know. But, without cryptocurrency, how could he have run his massive drug empire and hundreds, billions of dollars, the most powerful and well-known figure, I dare say, in the drug industry or myth. Without cryptocurrency, how could he have laundered all that money? In the 90s, how could all those people, those bad people, those drug dealers, those terrorists, how could they have laundered all that cash? Fun fact, in the 70s and 80s, 80% of dollar bills, that is paper money, had trace amounts of cocaine on them. 80% of dollar bills had trace amounts of cocaine on them. Now, you want to talk about laundering money and using money to, drug cartels and funding terrorism and all that stuff. People have been using fiat paper money literally to do drugs forever since its inception. They've been rolling that shit up and schnozzing it. That's just a fact. So the people out there that you hear talking all this garble, like, oh, well, they're laundering money. They don't know what they're just on their soapbox making talking points that have absolutely no fucking merit. North Korea's they're using it to fund their programs in Russia. Just talking points. It's all bullshit. Why is the IMF, the DMF, all these the World Banks and Mass Banks, all doing something, adding to their balance sheet? It's really kind of funny and ironic. Anyway.
Now, if Congress had passed legislation to create a well-defined regulatory regime with sensible guardrails, we'd have multiple U.S. exchanges competing here under the full force of those laws and regulations.
Wouldn't that have been amazing if they had actually just, done that? That's a crazy notion. I know. Crazy notion.
In that scenario, it's not clear that FTX would have ever existed, at least on the scale that it did. Not if we had American companies that were an alternative and properly regulated. The complete indifference to an appropriate regulatory regime by both Congress and the SEC probably contributed to the rise of operations like FTX. Others have suggested that we refrain from addressing cryptocurrency at all because we wouldn't want to legitimize its use. Well, I think that is both misguided and irresponsible. Congress can and should offer a sensible approach for the domestic regulation of these activities. I think we should start with stablecoins. This is an activity that my colleagues, we can analogize to existing traditional financial products. There's clear bipartisan agreement that stablecoins need consumer protections. There are virtually none in place now. I've proposed a framework that would do that. Congress also needs to determine the criteria and the disclosures by which issuance of digital assets will be regulated. And we should acknowledge the possibility that there's certain token issuance like Bitcoin that don't need that kind of regulation.
It's a fascinating thing that he just said there and should resonate with anybody out there. He seems very savvy in his knowledge and about this. And I just found out that he's retiring soon. And I just read the bill. He proposed a bill for stablecoins, or at least the framework of it. Hopefully having nothing to do with the SEC, because they're just trash. And it's taken a giant step in the right direction. If you don't think that this is the future, if digital assets, if these currencies are not, then
we should also clearly delineate regulations for the secondary market trading of these assets, including at exchanges like FTX US. Some of my colleagues have begun this important work. We can provide sensible consumer protections for which there would be very broad agreement, while still allowing for the development of applications that are going to run on operating systems that we can't even imagine today. Just as I don't think any of us ever imagined applications like Uber operating on iOS today.
Listen closely. Listen very closely. This is a United States Senator ranking Republican for the banking.
We can provide sensible consumer protections for which there would be very broad agreement, while still allowing for the development of applications that are going to run on operating systems that we can't even imagine today. Just as I don't think any of us ever imagined applications like Uber operating on iOS today. Individuals can be tremendously empowered by the use and access to cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies can protect against inflation when governments irresponsibly manage their own currencies.
Say what? This is from a United States Senator, a Republican United States Senator. This isn't some left-wing ideology. He is stating on the record that cryptocurrencies can in fact protect against inflation. Okay? Just here, listen to that again.
Cryptocurrencies can protect against inflation when governments irresponsibly manage their own currencies. They can provide useful services without the need for a company or a middleman. And they can let individuals preserve the freedom to transact privately.
That is really powerful stuff. That is very, very powerful stuff. This is stuff that I've been saying that we in the crypto community have, the real community, the real believers, the people that are, in the know kind of thing. Not the people that are just popping out of the woodwork, trying to get their 15 minutes of fame. This this is the reality. This is the next step forward. This, like I've been saying for a very long time, and like he just said, we couldn't have even imagined apps like Uber, in the 90s. Look, we do everything online right now. Everything, right? So if what I'm saying is true, if what he's saying is true, if the blockchain, if the advent of the blockchain is the equivalent of the advent of the internet, and we're in the very, very early, we're in the 90s, right? As far as comparability, comparing time frames. In the next 10, 20 years, I can't even imagine what's going to be created, what's going to be built. It's literally left to your imagination, and people are jumping into the space in droves, right? Because this is something. It's incredibly fascinating. Just think, right? Cryptocurrencies can defend, or at least protect you against government inflation, right? What's going on right now? Massive inflation. How does that even work? How does that? It's all magic, right? And all these people have been saying for years, it's all FUD. They've been spreading bullshit and lies for years because they haven't had any control over this. And he is stating, for the record, that it gives you, me, the people, autonomy, freedom, privacy, right? That's fucking amazing. How else can I say? I mean, I don't. It's epic. Epic.
It's a case to be made that there should be a regulatory regime on disclosure market trading, but I think we ought to make it specific to this sector, because to try to shoehorn it into decades-old legislation that deals with different instruments, I think is very problematic. It seems to me that tokens are very often the tool or mechanism to incentivize people to validate and maintain a distributed ledger. Now,
so you get we don't want to shoehorn into old legislation. We don't want the SEC involved. We already see there the amount of incompetence that's just is dripping out of there. The amount of corruption. We need new legislation. We need new people, a new government body, entity, separate from whatever the old guard, if you will. A new blood. All these senators and congressmen, they're all alpacocks. They're all really, really old. I mean, we need just new structure. If we want things to change, we have to be the people that do it. We have to push for it. We have to want it, right? We have to band together and agree that enough is enough and something has to be done. And hey, this is one of those things, right? This is one of those things.
Now, you can gamble with them. You can speculate as to what a given token is going to be worth. But it seems to me that underlying blockchain technology is potentially extremely powerful, is actually already being used in a variety of ways.
So that one more time.
Potentially extremely powerful, is actually already being used in a variety of ways.
That's the thing people don't realize. Yeah, it's extremely powerful, and it's already being used in a variety of ways. Like I said, we're still in the infancy stage. We're in the 90s, right? If we're going to talk about in relation to the internet. So what's to come in the near future, is there's exponential growth. There's so much. If you think for a second, for a millisecond, this isn't about investment or making money, but if you think for a millisecond that not owning or buying, investing a little bit of money into some blue chip, solid crypto assets right now, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, Cosmos, Atom. I got a little list. Solid thing. You're out of your mind, because right now in the bear market, this is the time to buy because everything is so damn cheap. Yeah, there's always the potential to go lower, maybe, but right now it could be the lowest it will ever be again. That's a possibility. Now, do you want to take a chance and not? Let me put it to you like this. This is a once in a lifetime, maybe once in a generation type of opportunity. Just like, the tech boom in the 90s made however many millionaires, billionaires, all that stuff. That is what is happening now. Maybe even on a grade, maybe even more so, because this is, I don't really know what to compare it to, but if there's anything to take away from this, any money that you have to spare, anything, just decide, if you're a smoker, quit, take the $10, throw it in the market, buy something, just forget about it. Just put it in, put a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Guarantee you, within the next 5 years, you will have a decent amount of money. Let's take a look at this. So this is the bill that Toomey. So I found out he is retiring. So he introduced a stablecoin bill that aims to guide Congress toward the future regulation after he retires in less than 2 weeks. Toomey's bill will create a new federal license for payment stablecoin issuers and would require the stablecoins to be backed by high-quality liquid assets. So he introduced the bill that would establish a federal framework that aims to guide Congress toward the future crypto regulation. Less than 2 weeks before he is set to retire. Quote, I've been putting forward a regulatory model that won't undermine competition by favoring entrenched incumbents, Toomey said in a statement. He's the ranking Republican on the Senate board, the Senate Banking Committee, and he is viewed as an influential figure. Rubber baby buggy bumper. The Pennsylvania lawmaker new bill is called Stablecoin Transparency. That seems pretty apropos. Cool beans. The bill would establish a new federal license for payment stablecoin issuers. The legislation would allow recipients of the new license to issue payment stablecoins along with the depository institutions, state-based monetary money transmitting businesses, non-depository trust companies, national trust banks. By digitizing the U.S. dollar and making it available on a global, instant, and nearly cost-free basis, stablecoins could be widely used across physical economy in a variety of ways. There's that, the entire digital online. Where do we do most of our shopping? Not in physical. We don't go to the mall anymore. Everything's online. And the one that I read in the bill, the stablecoin will not be considered security. That is a very blatant, important thing. It would be making an amendment to the securities bill that was created in 1934. Might be a little bit off, but anyway. So what's the takeaway from this? Well,